The word testimony comes from the Latin word testis, meaning witness. I have been tasked with sharing my witness story and how I am a witness to God. Now, for a lot of people, there's a sort of conversion story. However, I'm a cradle Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, and so I never believed anything different. However, I still have a witness story to tell you. My parents are teachers, and when I was younger, they taught me a lot of things, like multiplication tables and phonics rules, and how to pray the Hail Mary, Our Father, in the 23rd Psalm. Now, I assume most of you are at least familiar with the Hail Mary and Our Father, but you might not be familiar with the 23rd Psalm. It goes like this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Now prepare us the table before me in the presence of my enemies. Now anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. My dad taught me this, and it's one of the only pre-written prayers that actually speaks to me. A lot of my prayers go about like this. Dear God, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm very confused, and it'd be massively helpful if you could send a very clear sign to me right now. Thanks. Also, you're great. Love you. Okay, bye. So that sounds like an angry text from an 8th grader. Embarrassing, actually. Pretty sure not all prayers are supposed to sound like that. Anyway, the 23rd Psalm is my favorite prayer, not just because my dad taught it to me. Psalm 23 has a lot of imagery of calmness and what the Lord can bring to you and to me. A lot of my life I have spent in quite the opposite of green pastures and still waters and paths of righteousness. I spent a lot of my time in the valley of death. It was these times that I should have turned to God, and yet I didn't. I felt as though maybe God is outdated. Maybe it's just too traditional. These beliefs are just handed down person to person, and no one actually believes them. We say all these prayers, but to whom? No one's actually coming to save us. This thought process only really stopped when my grandfather died last year. Throughout a lot of his life, he was a very sinful man, given to alcoholism, and he had a lot to make up for. But towards the end of his life, he became a holy man. He became a very devout Catholic, going to Mass several times, not even a week, but several times a day. And he prayed constantly. He prayed the rosary constantly. And something that struck me about my grandfather, was how much he changed. He changed from a rough man with rough language to a gentle, loving man. A big change like that is not natural. It has to be supernatural. It has to come from God. And God changed him for the better. He became a very holy man, helping those around him, his family, friends, and even strangers halfway across the world. When he died, I was gifted his rosary, and I carry it with me everywhere. Actually, the one time I didn't carry it with me, I got into a car wreck. Talk about a clear sign from God. But I carry his rosary with me everywhere, as a reminder that human life can only really change with God's influence. I walked in the valley of death, but God makes me lie down in green pasture. He leads me into the still waters and towards the path of righteousness. And really, the only way to do that is to place my trust in him. Trusting the Lord is hard sometimes because he's not tangible. Unlike my earthly family, I can't hug him when I'm having a bad day. Unlike my friends, I can't dance with him in the band room after school. And unlike us, he's not on this natural world. However, he once was. And that's where I take comfort, in the Gospels. He had the same struggles we do, except, he didn't sin, so he did have a bit of a leg up, but that's fair. He's God. But what I want to tell you is that when you're walking through the valley of death and you fear evil, turn to God. Talk to him. He will lead you into still waters and make you lie down in green pastures and doesn't that sound nicer than the valley of death? I mean, the name even sounds nicer. Paths of righteousness versus valley of death. Wouldn't you rather be in a green pastures than a valley full of death? The only way to get there is through God. And the great thing about God is that he wants us to come to him for help. God is not only willing, but he implores us to ask him for help. The valley of death cannot compare to the heaven that is green pastures and still waters and paths of righteousness. God is willing to give all of that to us and more. We just have to trust in him. Thank you.